everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brian Reads Comics. It's time for the month of May 2023. I'm your host, Brian Heinz. Oh, hey, before we get started, check out what our special guest star, Mr. Robert Downey Jr. in his original Iron Man armor has to say. Hello, I'm Tony Stark, and I'm a big fan of Brian Heinz, so I think you should check out his Patreon page. Also, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell for notifications. Also, I feel we missed a big opportunity in Iron Man 2 by not doing the Demon in a Bottle storyline, so I'd like to take this moment to be very brave and announce that I, Tony Stark, am an alcoholic. Thanks, Rob. Catch you later for schnapps. Anyway, the first comic we're reviewing for the month of May 2023 is The Titans #1. The Justice League is gone, or disbanded, or stepped down, or somewhere else, or who knows. But right now, the formerly Teen Titans have stepped up to become the world's #1 superhero team, hopefully stepping out of their mentors' shadows once and for all. Tom Taylor, best known for his beloved Injustice comic book, and Nicola Scott, former artist on Secret Six and Wonder Woman, are telling the tale of one of DC's most beloved teams upping their game. The first issue opens with Wally West getting shot. I know. How? Why? With only a few moments left to live, he says goodbye to his family and then heads back in time. Then we see Aqualad shoot down a chance to join the Titans, saying that he's found a better opportunity to effect real change on the Earth. From there, the Titans assembled their new tower in Bloodhaven. Gar continues to deal with PTSD from his death and resurrection in the Planet Lazarus miniseries with the help of his girlfriend Raven. But the Titans don't even get in through the front door when they're called away by a giant robotic ape attacking a nuclear power plant. The team works efficiently to save lives and stop the ape's rampage, even standing up to a surprise guest star, although I'm not sure how much of a surprise it is since he recently showed up in Unstoppable Doom Patrol and was recently on the big and small screen played by that guy that we can't see. From him, we learn that there seems to be a concentrated effort to cause ecological disaster around the world. The guest star then offers the Titans a chance to work with the U.S. government, but they turn him down. They work for the world now, and the world doesn't make them work weekends. Back at the tower, they find a blood trail that leads them to the body of Wally West, with the phrase, "Solve it," flashing on their computer screens. It's a pretty good first issue, setting up several mysteries. Who's behind these attacks on the planet? Who killed the Flash? And since he used his time machine, is he still alive in this current era? Is this all the work of the same person Aqualad is now serving? It also sets up new relationship dynamics with the team. For instance, the team being a little awkward around the level of intimacy that Raven and Gar are showing, or why Aqualad turned them down after they've been lifelong friends. As far as everything else, Taylor relies on the popularity of the characters to inform his readers of the camaraderie and close friendships. Now, back on Secret Six, I thought Nicola's art was amazing. Now, some 15 years later, it's only gotten better and more refined. Her art is not overly stylized or super cartoonish. She has a very realistic approach. She draws them like real people. Even something as fantastic as Gar turning into a giant kaiju to find the robot ape is grounded in realism and with a level of detail that Scott has a great eye for. The first issue sets up the Titans as a global peacekeeping force while still grounding them in their lifelong friendships that make them a family as well as a team. The first issue does a lot of heavy lifting by getting a lot of setup out of the way, and the art by Scott is simply fantastic. I definitely add Titans to my reading list if you're still making that weekly trip to the comic book shop. Next up, it's Gold Digger number 299. I've been reading Gold Digger by the inimitable Fred Perry since high school. Now, after nearly 3 decades, he's almost wrapped up the story of Gina Diggers and her adopted sister, the weird cheetah, Brittany. And may I say, thank God. Let me make it perfectly clear, I will forever be a fan of Fred and his work, but the last 50 issues or so of this book have been a bit of a slog as he's really ramped up Gina's attempt to save all of reality from a never-ending cycle of destruction. Sounds cool, right? Yeah, well, here's the thing. For about 30 or 40 issues, Gold Digger had its golden age, for lack of a more accurate but less punny term, where Fred would tell whatever side character story he wanted and just had a lot of fun with the book, introducing us to things like Agency Zero, the superhero team that worked behind the scenes to save the world, or the Land of the Leprechauns with their Voltron-esque defense force that turned into a robot maybe about 5 feet tall, or the martial arts students who studied under Gina's mother, the Battlemaster Julia. Heck, most of the time the Diggers sisters weren't even in the book. But Fred wanted to tell everything in 300 issues, so he finally cracked down on the Ancient Gina storyline where we see Gina Diggers from the future trying to save the past from an upcoming cataclysm. So for the last 50 issues or so, modern-day Gina has been acting alone or with an ad hoc team to slowly unravel the mysteries of the worlds that came before her own. Don't get me wrong, the book is still good. Fred's art will always be amazing, but it's just gotten a bit dry and less silly. The shoutouts and references to past media slowed down, and this book became a lot more serious than I felt it ever had to be. So in this issue, number 299, which is the one I'm actually supposed to be reviewing, Gina has a standoff with the dragon Dreadwing, her enemy since issue number 1, who's acting as the Vader to the coming Darkness's Palpatine. But the bulk of the issue follows Brittany as she uses her own phenomenal cosmic powers to rescue a lost teammate before trying to reunite with her long-missing sister. It's a lot of big, cosmic battles and little human moments. Okay, I realize I'm kind of abusing this review of a single issue to talk about Gold Digger on the whole and not this specific story, so I'll try and rein it in. The issue is good, but it's not the right time for a new reader to join, one issue before the 300th finale. And after the monthly series wraps, Fred will return to the Gold Digger universe, but I'm hearing it'll be standalone graphic novels. Gold Digger continues to be a read I enjoy, but primarily for the art. And I am looking forward to the stories that Fred tells after this. But it feels like for the last few years, the monthly title has had to hold itself back to tell the tale Fred's had in his mind all this time. And while I can appreciate that he has goals for this title, I feel like it's lost some of the spontaneity it once had that I loved so much. And finally, we have Silk number 1. I have to admit, I feel bad for Cindy Moon. Silk was introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man during Dan Slott's run as the other person bitten by the radioactive spider that gave Peter Parker his powers. Unfortunately, this was also about the time that Spider-Gwen hit the comics, and she just blew up to the point where Silk was grossly overshadowed. But Cindy stuck in there with a pretty good ongoing series that didn't last all that long, and has come back with several mini-series in recent years, as well as an important supporting role in the Spider-Verse story that opened Slott's new Spider-Man book this year. This is Cindy's third miniseries in as many years, and it's written by Emily Kim, who wrote the previous series with art by Silk newcomer Ig Guara. In 1940s Hollywood, Detective Cindy Moon is following up on the case of some missing children when she's confronted by a horned demon. Using her spider powers, she holds her own, but its ability to teleport makes it hard to defeat. But in the middle of this fight, she has a flashback to modern times fighting the same demon. Using her past, future knowledge, she's able to defeat the demon, but then realizes that all the people she sees around her are from her own life in the modern times, and is whisked away to the Old West in the middle of a great train robbery. She's being held prisoner by the crime boss Saya and her brother, who once posed as Cindy's therapist. They need to keep her submerged in a fantasy a little while longer, even if it kills her. Now, Saya and her brother are not from Emily Kim's previous Silk miniseries, but the one before that written by Emily Gu, so hats off to the Silk editors, because more often than not, writers only want to use their own toys, and decent villains are left by the wayside when a new creative team moves in. Now, the art by Guara is decent, good even. He manages the old-school Hollywood style along with the Western worlds, backed up by Ian Herring's color acting as an almost filter thrown on top of the art to portray the different eras as though they're filmed with different camera styles. The issue is mostly atmosphere and action. I have a feeling we're not going to get too much backstory or setup until the next issue. I really like Silk as a character. She's brave, loves her family, delightfully out of touch with the modern world after having spent decades in a bunker hiding from evil vampires intent on devouring her. You know, that old chestnut. So I'm down for her current and future appearances, but if you're not a fan of the character, this book might be a bit confusing to be the first thing you jump into. Maybe start with the previous two miniseries. Even then, this book rates as sort of good on my scale. If you're not already a fan of Silk, then it's probably okay to skip this. And there you have it, my friends. These were my quickie reviews for the month of May 2023. Please join me back here next month for quickie reviews of June 2023. Until then, be sure to like my videos, subscribe to my channel, click the bell for notifications, and please check out my Patreon page. It's patrons like you who help me make these videos. Until next time, this is Brian Reads Comics, and I'm your host, Brian Heinz.